For 60 years, Sega has endured through many triumphs and many tragedies, now finding itself in the strongest financial position in its history, though at what cost? From early arcade origins to console success and failure, all the way to the bright new era, we shall explore what happened to Sega in the 10th episode of Why Things Go Wrong. Originally founded in mid-1960 as Nihon Goraku, what a name, ultimately being named as Sega in 1965, the origins of Sega Enterprises, which lasted from 1965 until 2000, can be traced back to the American standard games of the 1940s, as well as the service games of Japan in the 1950s, respectively. Over the course of 35 years, Sega Enterprises went from spearheading arcade gaming in the 1960s and 1970s to building up a video games console system in the 1980s, starting off with the Sega SG-1000 in mid-1983 and continuing with the Master System in late 1985, and the Sega Genesis in late 1988, with the said Genesis leading Sega's console peak in the early 1990s. Now, in terms of cultural and creative peak, this period was Sega at its zenith, especially with their platform leader and mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog, who still leads the way for Sega's branding to this day, nearly 35 years since the character's debut in mid-1991. However, financially speaking, the company was not fully secure, relying on continuing success to keep the company growing. Such successes soon ran out as the 1990s carried on, since Sega was divided by its Japanese base and its US offshoot, with the releases of the 32X add-on for the Genesis in late 1994 conflicting with the release of the Sega Saturn in around the same time period, causing past momentum to dry up. As the industry was changing, Sega tried and ultimately failed to adapt. Despite attempts to reignite Sega's console success with the Dreamcast, released in late 1998, the damage had already been done, as Sony swallowed up the market with the 1994 release of the PlayStation 1 and the 2000 release of the PlayStation 2, leading to Sega bowing out of the console-making marketplace on the last day of March 2001. By this point, Sega was crumbling, bleeding out financially, as the company adapted from a first-party to a third-party development studio. In a few years, Sega managed to become profitable again, though as a shadow of its former self. That is, until another Japanese company decided to help propel Sega to new heights, a gambling company no less, called Sammy. In 2004, pachinko machine company Sammy merged with Sega, forming Sega Sammy, aiding Sega's growth in the 2000s and 2010s, where now currently the merged company has divided itself between the prior company's specialities, enabling both Sega and Sammy to succeed and prevail. So what happened, Sega? Well, unlike most other companies in this series, Sega's doing better than ever before, though at what cost? Effectively collaborating with a gambling company to keep themselves going. That's certainly a pragmatic way of putting it across, and that's being kind. Yet Sega is living proof that being a cultural success, I dare say a cultural phenomenon, is not enough on its own to keep a company afloat. And I believe we will never again see Sega at another cultural peak. The company's pockets may be full, but the company's spirit certainly seems empty to me. That's what happened to Sega. I am the Dignified Cartoon Gentleman. Thank you, and goodbye.
It's the Dignified Cartoon Gentleman.